The sky is deep tonight, a kind of velvet blue, neither fully dark nor still touched by sun. You lie quietly, your eyes half closed, your breath like a gentle tide. Stars wink into being, one by one soft lanterns in the ocean of the sky. Far above you, space is not empty. It's full of stories, of quiet movements, of the slow breath of galaxies turning. Out there, in the darkness between stars, something waits. Not with menace, but with stillness. Wait, wonder. You are floating now, not in a rush, but like a leaf caught in warm air, drifting upward. Gravity no longer feels like a pull, but like a hum behind everything. The kind of gravity that holds galaxies together, the kind that speaks in curves and quiet. You begin to drift toward a mystery. It is not a place you can see, not clearly, but you feel it just beyond the reach of light. A presence that folds the space around it, tugging gently at stars, at gas, at time. This is a black hole. But tonight, we do not fear the name. Tonight, we listen, we wonder, we float closer. Imagine this, a region of space so dense, so compact, that nothing, not even light, can escape its grasp. But don't imagine destruction. Not tonight. Imagine a still pond that swallows every ripple. Imagine a hush so deep it pulls sound inward. That is what a black hole is. A calm in the storm. A silence made of gravity. You hover at a distance. You are safe here. Around the black hole, stars dance. Some are caught in long ellipses, swooping close and flinging far. Others vanish, swallowed into the quiet. You watch them swirl, great, hot, luminous beings drawn into orbits that spiral inward like a lullaby in reverse. The black hole does not roar. It does not chase. It waits. It waits with the patience of the universe, cradling space like cupped hands. This darkness is not emptiness, it is full of gravity's deepest thoughts. Behind you, the galaxy spins, a slow whirl of stars and gas. It stretches outward like arms turning through time. And at its heart, at the heart of almost every galaxy, is something like this, a black hole. Small compared to the galaxy, but vital. Like a seed at the center of a blooming flower. Like a note held steady in a symphony. You float nearer now. The black hole is invisible, but its presence is traced by light. Clouds of gas and dust fall toward it, glowing hotter as they spiral in. They form an accretion disk, a disk of fire circling darkness. It is beautiful, a kind of glowing halo, a wedding ring around a shadow. Your body feels light, no breath, no weight, just drifting thought. You think about time. Here, time moves strangely, closer to the black hole. Seconds stretch. A minute for you might be an hour out there, or a day. The clock slows as gravity deepens. Space curves, and time bends with it. The stars look different now, not as they did from Earth. They bend around the black hole, their light curved by its pull. This is called gravitational lensing, the way a black hole acts like a lens, warping the image of what's behind it. It's as if you're peering through the surface of water, seeing light bent and stretched by an invisible current. You are calm, you are curious, you are close. The edge of the black hole, the place where escape becomes impossible, is called the event horizon. It's not a surface. You wouldn't feel it if you passed through. But to an outside observer, this moment would last forever. From their perspective, you would freeze at the edge, caught in slow motion. But to you, time continues, gently, silently, endlessly inward. But tonight you do not cross that boundary. You linger, you observe. You wonder, how did this come to be? A black hole is not born from nothing. It begins, almost always, with a star. A massive star. One many times the mass of our sun. And when that star reaches the end of its life, when it runs out of the fuel that keeps it shining, it collapses inward. Its own gravity wins. The outer layers explode in a supernova, a brilliant last cry. But the core, the heart, falls in. Falls forever, becomes this. You imagine that star now, burning once, fiercely, holding planets, sending light across space. And then, one day, vanishing, leaving behind not a corpse, but a transformation. A black hole. And what of your own body, floating here? You are mostly empty space. Atoms spaced like stars. Your mass, your matter, your being, all caught in the same fabric that bends around this distant thing. The same physics, the same poetry. You are not separate from the universe. You are part of its quiet dance. You drift a little farther, and the galaxy turns around you like a mobile above a crib. So slow, so ancient, so vast. The stars do not hurry. The light does not rush. Time here is a deep river, and you are a tiny boat, rocked to sleep by gravity's lullaby. Close your eyes, even as you drift through the imagined. Feel the presence of a black hole, not as a hole, not as a terror, but as a truth, a place where the rules of the universe lean inward, where light bends, where time softens, where gravity sings its deepest note. You are not falling. You are floating, held quietly by a presence that does not demand to be seen, only felt. You might wonder, if gravity is not just a pull, but a curve in space, if time can slow and light can swirl, then what else is possible, just beyond the reach of vision? What happens when gravity deepens so far, so strongly, that even the ticking of time begins to bend? You are floating still, not away from the black hole, but deeper into its whisper. The darkness is not frightening, it is gentle, like a tide pulling you inward, not with force, but with invitation. You surrender, and in that surrender, something deeper begins to open. Gravity, not as weight, but as wonder. Gravity has always been with you. It keeps your feet on the ground, holds oceans to the earth, and wraps the moon in its silent leash. You feel it even now in your breath, in the way your body knows the difference between falling and floating. But here, near the edge of a black hole, gravity begins to change. It does not pull. It bends. The idea first came like a soft ripple in the mind of a man sitting in thought. Albert Einstein imagined not a universe of force and strings, but of fabric soft, vast, invisible. Space-time, he called it. Space and time woven into one quiet, stretchable thing. And gravity? Not a tug, not a hand reaching out, but a curve in that fabric. Imagine a trampoline stretched tight. Now place a bowling ball at the center. See how the surface sags around it. Now roll a marble near the edge. It circles inward, drawn not by a string, but by the dip, the curve, the slope created by the ball's mass. This is Einstein's vision. Mass tells space how to bend. Space tells mass how to move. You float now not in emptiness, but in this invisible fabric, soft, vast, stretching out in every direction. The stars curve it gently. The planets tug it into hollows. But black holes are the deepest wells. Their mass is so great, so concentrated, that the fabric doesn't just bend. It plunges inward. And as space curves, so does time. You feel it now, like a river slowing near its source. Far from the black hole, time flows like a stream in spring. But here, near the edge, it thickens, slows, stretches like honey on a spoon. This is time dilation, not a theory, but a feeling in your chest. Your heartbeat sounds the same, but elsewhere, clocks tick faster. The universe watches you in slow motion. It is not frightening. It is peaceful. You are moving through a painting where the brushstrokes slow as they deepen. The light of distant stars stretches red, their wavelengths pulled long by the heavy gravity around you. This is gravitational redshift, not something to memorize, but to feel in the color of the cosmos. And still, you float, drifting through the idea that time is not constant, that what you feel as now may stretch or contract depending on where you are, and how deeply gravity cradles you. Imagine two twins. One remains on Earth, the other flies close to a black hole. Years pass, but When they meet again, the one who flew is younger. Not in spirit, not in dreams, but in cells and seconds. Time has flowed differently for them both, not as fiction, but as fact. Einstein's relativity is not just an equation. It is the bending of your sleep, the slow shifting of stars. It is why GPS satellites must account for time's stretch above the Earth. Even up there, the clocks tick faster than ours. We must adjust, or lose our way. Now imagine this. The Earth bends space, the Sun bends it more. But the black hole is a bottomless pocket in the fabric. And as you approach it, everything stretches. Time, space, even light itself. Photons, those weightless packets of light, try to escape. But the path is curved, coiled, looped. Some spiral away, others are pulled in. And still, the black hole remains unseen. Not because it is hiding, but because it lets no light leave to carry its shape. Yet you see its presence everywhere. In the swirl of matter around it. In the stars it tugs. In the way it lenses the light behind it, making the distant cosmos warp and dance around its silhouette. You are no longer just observing. You are part of the curve. You feel the gentle surrender of straight lines turning into arcs, of time itself becoming pliable. Here, cause and effect stretch into one another like mist. You begin to wonder what it means to move forward in time, when time itself is not fixed. The more you learn, the more comforting the mystery becomes. Gravity is no longer the force that tethers you. It is the fabric you swim through, shaped not by command, but by presence. It holds galaxies together. It gives birth to stars. And in black holes, it becomes its most secretive self, folding inward, hiding time, whispering something that cannot be written, only felt. You float, breathing slowly, letting the idea settle into you. That gravity is not a force that pulls, but a geometry that holds. Mass bends space. Space bends time. And time, in turn, bends the story of everything that exists. Now the stars feel different. You look at them not as lanterns in the dark, but as dancers in a curved ballroom, their paths shaped by the hollows of space-time beneath them. You wonder now, if gravity can bend time so deeply near a black hole, what happens at the very center, where all the mass is crushed to a point, where time might stop altogether? You drift toward the next question, soft as a breath. What lies at the heart of this deep well, where gravity no longer curves, but collapses into a singularity? The drift continues. You are no longer near the edge of the black hole, where light curls and time stretches. You are falling inward now, slowly, peacefully, into a realm where space folds more tightly than ever before. This is not like falling on Earth. There is no wind, no bottom, no sudden stop. Only the deepening hum of gravity, a slow song that draws you toward its most mysterious note. The singularity. You do not feel afraid. There is no fear here, only curiosity, suspended like a lantern in the dark. The singularity rests at the very heart of the black hole, a point so small, so infinitely dense, that the rules of space and time, as we know them, unravel gently at its feet. It has no size, no surface, no boundary, yet it contains all the mass that once made a star shine. Imagine compressing mountains, oceans, entire planets, into a space smaller than a grain of sand. Now press further, until not even that grain remains. Only weight, only presence. You move closer, though time itself feels unsure of how to flow here. Seconds lose their shape. A moment could be forever, or not at all. This is the strange truth. At the singularity, time may end. Not just pause, not just slow, but dissolve like fog at dawn, leaving only the silence behind. It is not that time stops ticking. It's that the very idea of ticking no longer makes sense. Here, space collapses into a point, and with it, the directions you once knew, left and right, up and down, forward and back. They blur into something beyond measurement. Even language, even thought, feels like it must slow down to match the pace of this place. You are not moving through space. You are moving through gravity's deepest thought, the one it keeps closest to its heart. In the singularity, the laws of physics, so elegant, so dependable, begin to sway. They shimmer like heat above the sand, becoming not broken, but rewritten. This is where general relativity meets its quiet limit. Einstein's curves can no longer keep up. The math becomes undefined, like dividing by zero. Here, a new language is needed, one not yet fully written. Physicists believe this place is a key, a place where gravity and quantum mechanics must meet. Two great systems, so different, must somehow hold hands here. Quantum mechanics tells us that particles flicker, that even emptiness hums with energy. That certainty is a story we only tell from afar. And gravity, in its smooth, continuous arc, says mass bends space with dignity and weight. But at the singularity, both must speak at once. And so the singularity becomes more than a place. It becomes a question, a space-shaped riddle, a whisper at the edge of knowledge, a dot that holds the universe's deepest secret in its core. You wonder, is this truly the end of time? Or is it a beginning, curled so tightly into itself, that we can only call it end because we haven't found the door on the other side? Some believe this is a place where the universe might restart, a spring wound so tight it could one day burst forth into a new cosmos. Others wonder if every black hole births another universe within, hidden away, unreachable, yet real. You float there now, not at the singularity, not exactly, but close enough to feel its stillness. It is not violent. It is not cruel. It is calm, like the space between breaths, like the space between thoughts before sleep takes you. And though you cannot see it, you can imagine the weight of it, the thought of mass compressed not into matter, but into meaning. You begin to understand. The singularity is not only a physical point, it is a boundary in knowledge, in perception, in imagination. It asks quietly, what happens when space is no longer space? When time is no longer time? When something exists without location, without dimension, yet still exists? And though no light returns from here, though no message escapes, still, the universe listens to the question. You breathe gently. You rest in that breath, knowing that some things are not meant to be seen, but only felt, like love, like dreams, like the calm before a star is born. And maybe, just maybe, this silence is not an ending at all, but a waiting, a pause before motion, a breath before brightness. You linger in that hush, and then, slowly, you begin to wonder, what marks the threshold of this mystery? Where does the singularity end, and the outside world begin? This is the black hole's surface, a border, not a wall. Once crossed, nothing returns, not even light's whisper. But from the outside, you pause here, float here, and wonder, what would it feel like to fall forever? With no sound but your heartbeat bending space? You hover now, between the known and the unknowable. The singularity lies deep below, hidden in silence. But here, at the threshold, you pause. This is the event horizon. Not a surface you can touch, not a wall you can see, but a place, a soft line where escape ceases to be possible. Light, even light, cannot rise from below it. Photons stretch, slow, and vanish into the deep. No message, no glimmer, no memory returns. It is a one-way veil, quiet and absolute. You float just above it, still in the outer world, still wrapped in the rhythms of space and time as you've always known them. And you look down, though there is no down here, into something that does not give itself away. The event horizon is not dangerous in itself. It is not sharp. It does not burn. You would feel no jolt as you pass through. No resistance. Only a change in the nature of possibility. From the outside, time behaves differently than it does for the one falling in. To you, perched at a distance, it looks like anything approaching the event horizon slows, until it freezes, frozen in time just above the edge. But for the one falling for you, perhaps in imagination, time continues on as always. There is no freeze, no stop, only the soft unfolding of moments as you drift inward. This strange duality is part of the mystery. Observers see different truths, and both are real, shaped by the bending of time itself near the black hole. You close your eyes and imagine yourself crossing. There is no sound. There is no change in sensation. Only a quiet awareness that the sky behind you, the stars, the galaxies, are now forever out of reach. It is not frightening. It is peaceful, like stepping through a curtain made of shadow and time. You think again of light, of how light is freedom. It moves fast, the fastest anything can move. And yet, even light cannot outrun the grip of this gravity. The escape velocity at the event horizon is the speed of light itself. To remain still, to resist falling, you would need to travel faster than light. But that is not allowed by the universe. So the event horizon becomes the final line. Once crossed, the path inward is inescapable. Every road leads only deeper. It is like standing at the edge of a waterfall, not at the cliff, but in the river just before the drop. The current is gentle, almost still, but there is no turning back. Just ahead, the flow picks up, and beyond that, the fall is inevitable. You are not falling yet. You are floating above this border, curious, calm, suspended in thought. You remember that black holes can be vast. Some are as small as cities. Others are giants, millions or even billions of times more massive than our sun. Their event horizons stretch wide, so wide you could float there for days, drifting along the surface of something unseen. And still, from the outside, you look down and see nothing. No outline, no glow, only the absence of return. What you do see is the light that grazes it, light from matter spiraling inward, not yet lost, still visible, still glowing with heat and motion. This is called the accretion disk, a whirlpool of gas and dust heated to brightness by friction, by gravity, by the hunger of the whole. It spins close, skimming the edge of the event horizon, then vanishing forever. You imagine being a photon, a single light particle, skimming the border, struggling to escape, curved by gravity into a dance so tight it becomes a prison. Some photons succeed. They slingshot outward, escaping with the story of what they saw. Others fall in, carrying that story into silence. And so, to those watching from afar, the black hole's edge is not black at all. It glows. It radiates with the last light of things falling in. But that light is not from the black hole itself. It is from the material caught in its orbit, right at the brink, right before goodbye. You float gently near this boundary. The silence here is thick, not empty, but full of consequence. There is no coming back, not for light, not for time, not for meaning once it crosses the line. And still, you are drawn to it, not to fall, but to feel, To understand what it means for something to be cut off from return, yet still part of the universe. What does it mean to have a surface you cannot see? That swallows light? That preserves nothing outward, but perhaps holds something inward? Some physicists believe the event horizon hides more than we know. That information falling in is not lost, but scrambled, preserved in the surface somehow, encoded like ripples in a membrane of gravity. Could it be that what falls in is remembered, not erased, but transformed into heat or quantum echoes, written into the surface of space-time itself? You float in this question, softly, sleepily. There are many kinds of horizons in life, moments where crossing means change, where one path ends and another begins, unseen. The event horizon is the universe's quietest threshold, its most sacred doorway. And you are here, listening, still, right at the edge where light pauses. You wonder, as you drift, what might bring something this close to the brink? What force could create such a thing? Such gravity, such mass, such silence. You begin to think of stars, of brightness, of endings that become beginnings. You drift gently now, backward in time, past the curve of the event horizon, past the silence of the singularity, to the source, the beginning of this black hole's long and quiet birth. It begins not in darkness, but in brilliant, radiant light. There was a star, massive, ancient, alive, a beacon burning across cosmic ages. You float beside it. It pulses with energy, its light bathing the surrounding space in golden heat. The star is enormous, dozens of times more massive than our sun. Its body swells with fire, a celestial engine fusing hydrogen into helium, and helium into heavier and heavier elements. This is a battle. Every moment of a star's life is a balance. Gravity pulling inward, fusion pushing outward. The star glows because it resists collapse. It shines because it holds itself up. For millions of years, the balance holds, layer upon layer. Its interior dances between creation and containment. Hydrogen becomes helium. Helium becomes carbon. Carbon becomes oxygen. Each element born in pressure and fire, each one a step toward the star's quiet end. You hover close enough to feel its breath. Each photon a whisper. But something changes. Over time, the star begins to falter. Its fuel runs low. Fusion slows. The energy it needs to push back against gravity fades. At its core, iron begins to form, not because iron burns, but because it does not. Iron is the end of fusion's road. It cannot give energy. It only takes. Without new energy, the outward push weakens. Gravity, ever patient, begins to win. The collapse happens fast, almost instant. In less than a second, the star's core can no longer resist. It folds inward under its own weight, falling into itself with unimaginable force. You see the outer layers follow, rushing inward, crashing into the dense core. And then, a burst, a shockwave, a supernova. You feel it before you see it. A wave of energy ripples through space, brighter than all the other stars in the galaxy combined. For a brief moment, it is as if the star has become light itself. But this light is a farewell, a final breath, not a continuation, but a release. The explosion throws outer layers far into the cosmos. Carbon, oxygen, calcium, gold, every element heavier than helium, forged in those final seconds, now cast into space to become dust, planets, and people. You think of yourself now, of your body, your bones, your breath, your blood, all made from this collapse. The calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, all born in the death of stars. You are not separate from this event. You are its echo. But the collapse does not end with the explosion. Deep in the heart of the dead star, something else remains. If the star was small enough, its collapse would leave behind a white dwarf, dense but calm. A ghost of a star, slowly fading. If it were a bit larger, it would become a neutron star. A city-sized sphere of pure neutrons, spinning rapidly, with gravity so strong it bends light around its skin. But this star was larger still, too massive for either fate. And so it falls further. The core crushes inward. Atoms collapse. Protons and electrons vanish into neutrons, and even those break down. There is no force left to hold anything up. The collapse continues, past matter, past atoms, into pure gravity. A black hole is born. Silent, small, endless. Its mass is huge, but its size is tiny. A speck with the weight of suns. You float beside it now, watching as space begins to warp. Light no longer escapes. Time no longer flows as it once did. This tiny thing, born from fire, now bends the universe around itself. Its edge, the event horizon, wraps it like a soft veil. Nothing escapes from inside. Not light, not time, not even memory. And yet, it does not feel like death. It feels like transformation. You begin to see the cycle. A star is born. It shines. It dies. Its death becomes the beginning of something else. A black hole is not destruction. It is change. It is gravity taken to its final form. It is the shape of space when it gives in completely to weight. You imagine this black hole drifting now, through space, alone. It may find companions. It may merge with others. It may fall into the heart of a galaxy. But it will never shine again. Not like the star it once was. It will pull. It will bend. It will shape the cosmos with silent hands. Even in absence, it has power. You think again of that star, long gone now. Its surface torn apart. Its light faded. But its legacy, imprinted forever on space and time. And perhaps, in some quiet way, you carry that star inside you. Not metaphorically, not poetically, but truly. Its dust is your dust. Its atoms, your atoms. Its end became your beginning. You rest in that thought, held by it, cradled by gravity, by fire, by silence. You wonder how many other stars have collapsed. How many black holes wander, unseen. How many beginnings lie hidden in endings. You drift now, slowly, gently, around the newborn black hole. Its surface invisible, its center unreachable, but its presence unmistakable. You begin to sense something deeper. That black holes do not only mark death, they also shape. They sculpt. They guide the stars around them. They anchor galaxies. You wonder if the fabric of space remembers these deaths, if the universe curves because of them, if everything, in some way, spins around the quiet places where light once lived. And you begin to see that space is not empty at all. It is soft, stretchable, folded gently by gravity's hand. You drift now in a vast, quiet sea. There is no edge here, no wall, no shore. Only depth, only silence, only curve. This is not ordinary space. This is space-time, the soft, invisible fabric that holds everything together. It stretches beyond galaxies, beyond stars, beyond the memory of light, and you are floating inside it, weightless and slow. Let yourself feel the fabric. not as something hard or sharp, but as something yielding, like silk beneath your fingers, like water that remembers every ripple. Einstein saw it this way: space and time not separate things, but one continuous, pliable field. He called it space-time. One word, one concept, one quiet truth. Everything that exists, stars, planets, moons, you, rest upon this fabric, and everything with mass presses into it, creating gentle curves, like dimples in a stretched blanket. The more mass something has, the deeper the curve it creates. The sun makes a wide, soft bowl. The earth adds a smaller dip nearby. And black holes? They are the deepest wells, so steep that not even light can climb back out. But here's the wonder. This bending of space-time is what you feel as gravity. You are not being pulled. You are falling inward along the curves carved by mass. You imagine rolling a marble across a stretched sheet. Place a heavy ball in the center, and the marble curves toward it, not because it is pulled, but because the fabric bends its path. This is what Earth does to you. This is what the moon does to the tides. This is what the sun does to the orbits of planets. You rest inside this idea. It cradles you. It explains why planets circle stars, why galaxies spiral, why black holes hold stars in orbits they cannot escape. You float now above Earth, watching the planet move through space-time. It carries you effortlessly, gliding through the gentle curves made by the sun's deep presence. The moon, too, traces its path, caught in Earth's own dent in space-time, not tethered, but guided like a leaf on a lazy current. Every movement in the universe is shaped by this soft tension. Mass and motion and time, all linked in this fabric that stretches, folds, flows. And time, yes, time flows through this fabric too. In places where the curve is deep, time stretches. It slows, like syrup sliding down a cool plate. High on a mountain, time moves slightly faster than it does at sea level. Far from gravity's pull, your seconds pass more quickly. It's subtle, but real. And near a black hole, where the curve becomes extreme, time almost pauses. A clock near the event horizon ticks slower and slower, while far away, time rushes on. This isn't fantasy. It's measurable. GPS satellites must account for this, adjusting their clocks because time moves differently above the Earth. You realize now, you live on a bending sheet of space-time. Every step you take is part of a slow, graceful fall. Not downward, but inward, along curves so vast you rarely feel them. You are never truly still. You are always moving, drawn by the fabric's subtle architecture. You close your eyes. Can you feel it? Not the gravity itself, but the curve beneath you, the gentle slope that carries you across the galaxy. It's all so quiet, so patient. This fabric does not snap. It does not break. It yields. It adapts. It sings in low, silent frequencies, ripples called gravitational waves. You've heard of them, perhaps. Waves of space-time itself, generated when massive objects move and collide. Black holes dancing together send tremors through the cosmos. You cannot hear them, but detectors on Earth have felt their passing, a faint stretch, a slight squeeze, like space-time breathing once, then going still. These waves confirm what you now feel, that space-time is not still. It's dynamic, alive, in its own quiet way. And so you drift across it, like a feather on an endless breeze. Everything is part of it. Even you, your mass, your presence. You bend space-time too just a little. Not enough to trap light. Not enough to anchor planets. But enough to matter. You are part of this dance. Of mass and motion, of curvature and time. You smile gently, wrapped in this fabric that has no seams. It connects stars to stars, galaxies to galaxies, and black holes to the very shape of the universe. The fabric stretches far beyond what eyes can see. It may even loop back on itself. It may ripple in ways not yet imagined. It may contain more dimensions than we can perceive. You drift, wondering what lies beyond even this. What happens when the black hole's weight bends space-time so tightly that even the fabric begins to glow? What happens when darkness itself begins to shine? You float now where light meets darkness, where the pull of gravity becomes an artist's hand, drawing spirals in glowing gas, sketching heat across the quiet canvas of space. Here, a black hole feeds. Not with jaws, not with hunger, but with patience. It gathers what drifts too close. Clouds of gas, rogue dust, the skin of passing stars. But it does not swallow them whole. No, not at first. What comes near begins to orbit. Not in silence, but in fire. You watch it happen. A star wanders too close. Not too close to vanish all at once, but close enough to be stretched, to be pulled apart strand by strand. Its gases unwind, spilling into a disk around the black hole. This is the accretion disk. A bright, flattened ring of matter spiraling inward, glowing brighter than the combined light of 1,000 stars. Here lies the paradox. The black hole itself emits no light, but what it eats, or rather, what it's about to eat, shines brilliantly. You hover above the disk, feeling the warmth of its photons, even though it is far away, even though it comes from a place so near to darkness. Gas in the accretion disk doesn't fall straight in. It swirls, spirals, collides with itself. Friction builds. Temperatures rise to millions of degrees. The gas glows in X-rays, becoming one of the brightest things in the sky. You are floating through one of the most luminous structures in the universe, and it is all centered around something completely invisible. These disks can stretch across light years, wide as whole star systems, spinning faster as they near the event horizon. At the outer edge, the spin is gentle. At the inner edge, it nears the speed of light. And the closer you get, the thinner the divide between what stays and what's consumed. But not all of it falls. Some of it escapes. Some of it is flung outward, by magnetic fields twisted into violent loops. You see them, thin, blazing jets, shooting out from the poles of the black hole, narrow beams of energy stretching for thousands of light years. These are relativistic jets. They don't come from inside the black hole, but from the chaos near its edge, where magnetic fields whip charged particles into tight streams and launch them outward at nearly the speed of light. Imagine that. A black hole, something that traps light, also sending light outward, farther than most stars will ever shine. You feel the paradox again. The brightest regions in the universe, wrapped around the darkest ones. Light dancing at the edge of silence. A feast of fire circling a hollow mouth. Sometimes the black hole feeds on small things. A drifting cloud of gas. A lonely asteroid. Other times it consumes entire stars. These rare moments become cosmic fireworks. They're called tidal disruption events. A star is stretched by gravity, torn into long filaments, half of it flung away, the other half swallowed slowly. Astronomers on Earth watch for these flickers, for sudden flashes in distant galaxies. They measure the brightness, track the curve of its decline, and from that, they learn what was eaten, how massive the black hole must be. You drift through these observations, feeling how far light travels to reach us. A journey of millions, even billions of years. So that when we see a flicker in the sky, it's already long past. You begin to sense the rhythm of it. Black holes aren't always feeding. Sometimes they wait. For years. For eons. Then something wanders close, and the meal begins again. In this way, black holes regulate the flow of matter. They clear crowded galactic centers. They prevent runaway star formation. They keep galaxies balanced, not by consuming all, but by consuming just enough. Some of the most massive black holes, called quasars, are surrounded by disks so bright they outshine their entire galaxies. From across the universe, we see them as distant, brilliant beacons, shining from the early days of time. You picture one now, a quasar in a young galaxy, the light reaching you only now, even though it was born when the universe was new. Its black hole spins rapidly, twisting space around it. The accretion disk shines, jets blaze outward, and all the while, matter falls in, not chaotically, but in elegant spirals of energy and light. You begin to understand. Feeding is not destruction. It's a conversion. Mass becomes light. Matter becomes motion. Falling becomes shining. You feel this exchange deeply, as if the universe is always in the act of transforming. Nothing ever disappears. It only changes form. And at the heart of that change sits the black hole, silent, invisible, yet shaping light through its appetite. You drift lower now, imagining what it would feel like to be a particle caught in the disk. You'd orbit faster and faster, growing hotter, until the friction pulled you apart, until radiation burst from you in waves. And then, if gravity won, you'd fall inward, cross the horizon, be gone. But your energy, the light you shed before vanishing, would ripple outward, forever part of the universe. Even the act of falling is radiant. You pause at that thought, that even loss can shine, that even the path towards silence can be traced in brightness. Perhaps this is why the universe glows, not just from stars, but from all the places where matter moves, where gravity gathers, where change is allowed. You look around. The disk spins on. Jets leap. The black hole waits. It is not monstrous. It is not cruel. It is simply the place where matter lets go. And in letting go, gives off light. You breathe in slowly. There is no rush. Only rhythm. Only cycle. Only quiet fire turning in the darkness. You begin to wonder, if black holes shine while feeding, what happens to everything that surrounds them? Does the galaxy itself feel their presence? You are floating now, just above the edge of darkness. Not in fear, not in haste, but with awe, watching as something invisible begins to glow. Beneath you turns a black hole. Not visible, not shining. Yet around it, a miracle of light spirals endlessly. A disk, hot and bright, wraps itself in rings around the void. This is the accretion disk, the place where matter, before it vanishes, gives off its final radiance. You would think darkness would consume quietly, that a black hole swallows things whole without a whisper. But that's not what you see. Instead, it feasts with a luminous grace. Gas, dust, and fragments of stars drift too close. And they don't fall in all at once. They spiral. They gather. They form a glowing whirlpool of heat and motion. Like water circling a drain, but hotter than any flame you've ever imagined. At first, the gas is cool, almost passive. But friction builds as particles rub against one another. They crash, they heat, their atoms tear apart under pressure. The temperature climbs to millions of degrees. You can feel it, not as heat on your skin, but as light in your mind. Photons leap away in every direction, even as the matter itself spirals inward. This is the paradox. The darkest object in the universe becomes surrounded by the brightest light. And the closer the gas gets to the black hole's event horizon, the faster it spins, the brighter it becomes, until the very act of falling is indistinguishable from shining. You hover above this radiant whirl, watching as matter becomes motion, and motion becomes energy. The black hole itself does not glow, but the space around it burns like a lantern in the void. Sometimes, what falls in is simple, a drifting cloud of hydrogen. But other times, something more dramatic occurs. A star comes too close. You see it unfold. The star is captured, not by a violent grab, but by the slow stretch of gravity. Its near side is pulled more strongly than its far side. The star begins to distort, pulled into a long ribbon, spaghettified. This is a tidal disruption event. The star is torn apart, half of it flung away in long streams. The other half forms the brightest kind of accretion disk. It flares. The light from the disk outshines the rest of the galaxy, but only for a time. Then it fades, like a candle after the wind. On Earth, astronomers see the flare, a sudden flash in a distant sky. They measure its glow. They record its fading trail. And from this light, they learn about the hunger of black holes. These flares are brief, but the feeding that follows, that can last months, even years. As the matter spirals inward, it grows hotter, faster, more luminous. You float just beyond the inner edge of the disk, where space churns. Particles move close to the speed of light. Everything is stretched. Time, space, even meaning. Magnetic fields twist and bend in this violent ballet. They rise like invisible snakes, winding together, launching energy outward from the poles. These are relativistic jets, narrow beams of plasma and radiation, ejected with force so immense. They travel thousands of light years. Not everything falls inward. Some energy escapes, carried away by these jets, streaming like arrows through the galaxy. And here lies the contradiction again. A black hole that swallows light also launches it across space. You feel how strange and beautiful it is. An engine with no moving parts. A furnace without flame. A silence that causes brightness. You begin to understand that black holes are not just voids. They are power. They are transformation. They convert matter into radiation, with an efficiency no human machine can match. Even a small black hole, feeding actively, can outshine every star in its host galaxy. The most luminous of all are called quasars. At the centers of young galaxies, these black holes feed ferociously, surrounded by thick, hot disks. You imagine one, a quasar shining from 12 billion years ago. Its light only now reaching Earth. It outshines its galaxy by 1,000 times. Its jets pierce the early universe like needles of flame. And yet, at its center, there is only silence. You drift closer. The disk rotates below you. It flickers. It hums. Not with sound, but with radiation, X-rays, gamma rays. Light too fierce for human eyes. You cannot see it, but your mind can feel its shape, a whirling ring of brilliance, fed by gravity's hunger. Even the smallest fragments contribute. A meteor, a dust cloud, all drawn in. But this hunger has rhythm. Black holes do not feed constantly. There are long, quiet periods where the disk fades, where nothing falls close enough to stir the light. Then, one day, a star, a cloud, wanders too near, and the cycle begins again. You find comfort in that rhythm, the pulsing of galaxies, the breath of light around darkness. These aren't just beautiful images. They matter, because what black holes eat shapes everything around them. By swallowing gas, they prevent too many stars from forming too quickly. They regulate the growth of galaxies. They clear the central space so stars can orbit cleanly and planets can form safely far away. Black holes, in this way, are gardeners of the cosmos. They prune, they balance, they shape. Even their jets carry matter to distant corners of the galaxy, spreading heat, spreading elements, stirring the space between stars. You think of that now and realize a black hole does not need to be seen to leave its mark. It sculpts with gravity, with energy, with the way it bends space-time and directs light. The disk spins still. You float beside it. It is beautiful, and it is temporary. This brilliance only lasts while there is something to fall. When the disk fades, the light goes out, and the black hole waits again. You rest now, wrapped in the paradox that the darkest things can give rise to the brightest sights. And you begin to wonder, if black holes can shape light and bend time, what influence might they have over entire galaxies? You drift now beyond the spirals of fire and fall, away from the glowing rings of accretion, beyond the jets of light that rise from the black hole's crown. You drift outward into structure, into shape, into the galaxy that surrounds the dark. From a distance, a galaxy looks delicate, a spiral of stars painted across velvet black. But you know now that there is weight in that beauty, that its calm is held by something unseen. At the center of nearly every galaxy lies a black hole, not a small one, but a supermassive one, millions or billions of times heavier than your sun. And yet, it is not large, not sprawling. It takes up less space than the orbit of a single star. And still, it holds everything together. You float into the center of a galaxy. Here, stars are packed tightly, spinning quickly, rushing in graceful loops around a gravity they can't see. The space is dense with motion. Gas clouds shimmer. Radiation flickers. The black hole is quiet now. Not feeding, not flaring, just waiting. But even when silent, it shapes everything around it. Black holes are not just ends. They are also anchors. Their mass gives galaxies balance. Their presence defines the rhythm of stellar life. Without them, stars would drift outward too fast. Galaxies would become loose, their arms unspooling like thread. But with the black hole in place, everything holds. You imagine galaxies not as static things, but as slow-breathing organisms, living, changing, responding. And at their heart, a black hole regulates the pace. When active, these black holes shape more than orbits. They sculpt entire generations of stars. You remember the jets, columns of charged particles, racing away from the poles of the spinning hole. These jets can reach beyond the galaxy itself, tens, even hundreds of thousands of light years. Invisible to human eyes, but visible to the instruments we build, they leave their marks in radio waves and X-rays. You float beside one now. It moves without sound, but with direction. It pushes through clouds of gas that would otherwise form stars. It heats the gas, spreads it thin, slows the birth of new suns. This is how the black hole speaks to its galaxy. Not with words, but with feedback. Too much star formation, and the galaxy overheats. Too little, and it fades into silence. But the black hole helps maintain the middle, a balance, a regulation, a cosmic breath that knows when to pause. You drift farther out and see the effect. In some galaxies, the jets have carved vast cavities, bubbles in the interstellar medium. Huge, ghost-like holes where the gas has been blown away. These bubbles are not empty. They carry memory. They tell the story of a time when the black hole fed with fire and sculpted with wind. Galaxies respond. They change shape. Their spiral arms ripple. Their clusters rearrange. The black hole does not command, but it guides. It does not build, but it shapes what can be built. You begin to see it now, that the galaxy is not a star's kingdom. It is the black hole's garden. Each star, each cloud, each orbit exists within the influence of the dark center. Even when the black hole is quiet, its presence is like a hand beneath the fabric, lifting everything slightly, keeping the shape of the cosmos from folding. Some galaxies spin fast. Some are slow. Some are thick with stars. Others are thin and dim. But always, at the center, a black hole waits. You wonder how early this began, how long black holes have guided form. The oldest quasars, bright black holes from the early universe, shine from when the cosmos was still young. Their light, sent across billions of years, shows us how even then, black holes sculpted their galaxies, like potters shaping clay with invisible hands. You drift through time as well as space, watching galaxies collide. Their stars swirl together in chaos. Their gas crashes, compresses, ignites. And their central black holes, drawn by gravity, spiral inward, meeting, merging, becoming one. These collisions do not destroy. They rebalance. The result is often an elliptical galaxy, rounder, older, quieter, and at its center, a new black hole, more massive, more settled. Even when galaxies change, the black hole remains the seed around which new order grows. You float now above a galaxy cluster, hundreds of galaxies orbiting one another, held in a loose web of dark matter and momentum. Each has a black hole at its core. Each contributes to the greater structure. Black holes shape not just their galaxies, but the way galaxies gather. Their jets inject energy into the surrounding space, delaying the cooling of gas, slowing the formation of new clusters. You realize now, these quiet, invisible points of mass help define the large-scale structure of the universe. Their influence ripples outward, not violently, but with weight. Even in silence, they sculpt. Even in darkness, they hold. And so, galaxies are not just born. They are raised. They are tended. By hands you cannot see, by rules you cannot touch, by gravity shaped into a whisper. You let yourself rest in that thought. The stillness of structure, the slow spin of 100 billion stars, held together by one invisible core. There is peace in knowing that the galaxy you live in, your own Milky Way, has such a heart, a black hole at its center. Sagittarius A. Massive, silent, anchoring every orbit, including your own. You are not far from it in the grand scale, just one spiral arm away. And though you will never fall into it, you feel its pull. It holds the center steady, while your planet spins gently, softly. In the outer dark, you breathe slowly. You drift. You trust the stillness of gravity's hand. But then you wonder, if black holes can shape galaxies, if they can regulate the stars, then what becomes of them in time? Do they change? Do they grow old? Do they disappear? Is a black hole truly forever? Or can even the deepest gravity fade? You floated so long beside black holes, watched them shape stars, draw in light, bend time, balance galaxies with silence. They seem eternal, endless, final. But now you drift toward a softer question, a surprising one. A whisper that came not from the stars, but from a mind on Earth. Stephen Hawking, physicist, dreamer, seeker, looked into the deep dark and found something glowing. He asked, "What happens at the very edge of a black hole, where the event horizon hums between being and nothing? What happens there, where quantum rules press against gravity's curves? You hover now at that edge, right at the border. And here you begin to feel it. A flicker, a shimmer, not from within the black hole, but from just outside. It begins with the quantum vacuum. Space, even empty space, is never truly still. It bubbles with possibility. Particles and antiparticles appear in pairs, a momentary dance, then vanish again, like breath drawn and released. Most of the time, this flickering stays balanced. A pair forms, then annihilates, and the fabric of space rests. But near a black hole's event horizon, the rules bend. Sometimes, just sometimes, one of the pairs slips past the horizon, while the other escapes. The one that escapes becomes real, a particle, freed by separation. And the one that falls in, it carries negative energy into the black hole. The black hole loses just a bit of mass, just a tiny fraction. But over time, over vast, unimaginable time, this loss accumulates. And so, slowly, silently, the black hole shrinks. This is Hawking radiation, a soft glow from the edge of darkness, not a blaze, not a flare, but a whisper of heat, drifting into the void. You drift with it. These particles are gentle, low in energy, born of quantum chance, but real, tangible, proof that even black holes are not forever. You imagine it now. A black hole that no longer feeds, no longer spins wildly, no longer launches jets or stirs galaxies. It waits in silence, alone. Nothing falls in. Its accretion disk is gone. Its surroundings have gone cold. And yet, it glows. Softly, patiently, evaporating one particle at a time. This process is unimaginably slow. For a black hole the mass of a star, it would take longer than the current age of the universe for it to truly fade. But fade it will. It radiates because it must. Because the laws of thermodynamics, the rules of energy, of heat, of entropy, do not stop at the event horizon. Hawking's insight connected the two great frameworks of reality, quantum mechanics and general relativity. He showed that the edge of a black hole was not a place where physics ends, but where new truths begin. You feel now the poetry of it, that even the darkest places can give something back, that even the strongest gravity cannot keep all energy inside, that the universe, in its balance, ensures nothing stays forever, not even black holes. You float near a black hole much smaller than those you've seen before. It may have formed not from a collapsing star, but from density in the early universe. A primordial black hole, tiny, ancient, born in the first seconds after the Big Bang. It's no longer quiet. It's dying now. Its mass is small enough that Hawking radiation is no longer a trickle. It is a flood. The smaller the black hole becomes, the faster it radiates. It heats as it shrinks, hotter and hotter, brighter and brighter, until at the very end, it releases its final burst of energy and vanishes. No sound, no smoke, just a fading ripple in the quantum field. You imagine that last moment. A black hole, once massive and mysterious, now no more than a sigh in space. And yet, its presence is not lost. The radiation it gave off, each particle, each wave, carries energy, carries information, carries memory. This idea leads you deeper into mystery. Because if black holes evaporate, what happens to the information they once held? Everything that fell in, all the matter, all the particles, all the patterns, are they gone forever? Quantum mechanics says no. Information cannot be destroyed. It can change, it can scatter, but it cannot disappear. But if a black hole fades to nothing, what remains of what fell inside? This is the black hole information paradox, one of the deepest puzzles in modern physics. Some believe the information is encoded in the Hawking radiation itself, that each particle carries a piece of the story. Others suggest it's stored on the event horizon, etched like a hologram on the black hole's surface, a kind of cosmic memory. You drift beside these questions, not needing to answer, only to feel their shape. They are soft puzzles, carried on the breeze of thought, and they remind you that even in science, some truths remain in progress. Some mysteries are not solved, but slowly understood. You rest now beside a black hole's fading glow, its last particles drifting outward like fireflies. There is no fear here, only transformation. Even the deepest wells, empty in time, even the silence of gravity, can dissolve into warmth. You begin to wonder, if black holes can die, then what do they leave behind? Is there a trace? A ghost? A memory in the web of space? And if light can emerge from darkness, then perhaps, just perhaps, what falls in is never truly lost. You float now at the edge of knowing, where questions drift like leaves on still water, waiting for you to notice. All this time, you've watched things fall into black holes. Gas, dust, light, even stars folded inward, curled into silence. You've seen time slow. You've felt space stretch. You've seen the black hole glow and fade. And still, a question flickers softly in the dark. Where does everything go? This is not a question of space, but of meaning. In the everyday world, when you burn a book, the information in its pages seems lost. But the smoke carries molecules, the ash holds fragments. The pattern changes, but the story is still present, dispersed, rearranged, waiting to be read again, by someone who understands how to look. But what about a black hole? You've learned that even light cannot escape. That matter falls beyond the event horizon, and is never seen again. But what about the information it carried? The pattern in its particles? The arrangement of its atoms? The memory of its being? Quantum mechanics whispers something strange. Information cannot be destroyed. It is preserved, always, in new forms, in tangled threads of possibility. And so, if a black hole swallows something, where does its story go? This is the heart of the information paradox, a mystery that has stirred physicists for decades, a riddle where gravity and quantum physics speak in different voices. According to relativity, what enters a black hole is lost. The singularity pulls it in, and no trace escapes. But quantum mechanics disagrees. It says the universe keeps records, even in the smallest particles, even in the silence of vacuum. So, how can both be true? You drift along this puzzle, not needing to solve it, only to explore its shape. Some believe that information is hidden on the surface of the black hole, that the event horizon is more than a boundary. It is a screen, a storage, a membrane on which every falling thing is recorded, flattened into light, like a shadow on a wall. This is the idea of the holographic principle, that all the information inside is encoded on the surface outside. Imagine a three-dimensional world, wrapped into a two-dimensional skin, like a soap bubble holding the memory of the wind that shaped it, like a whisper etched onto glass, Others believe the answer lies in something stranger still. Quantum entanglement. Particles can become connected in ways that defy space. Change one, and the other responds instantly, no matter how far apart. You float between two such particles now. They shimmer with shared possibility, entangled like twin thoughts in the same dream. Perhaps, when something falls into a black hole, its entangled twin remains outside, a ghost of memory, a thread still tied. Some physicists suggest that the particles escaping, as Hawking radiation, carry pieces of this entanglement, that, over time, the black hole releases not just heat, but the tangled echo of everything it once consumed. It's not obvious. It's not quick. But slowly, softly, the black hole might be giving the information back, one flicker at a time. You drift beside these possibilities, feeling them like tides beneath your thoughts. You imagine falling into a black hole, not in fear, but in curiosity. Would your story end? Or would some part of you remain, not your body, but your arrangement, your pattern, your dance of atoms? Would it be smeared across the horizon, entangled in outgoing light, encoded in the bending of space-time itself? You think of dreams now, how sometimes you forget them upon waking, but later, a sound, a scent, brings them back. Information, it seems, does not always vanish. Sometimes it hides, sometimes it sleeps. Perhaps the universe works the same way. Perhaps a black hole is a kind of dreaming mind, one that stores what it takes, whispers it back slowly, in particles, in waves, in echoes too faint to hear. You look again at the horizon, still black, still calm, still mysterious. But now, you sense texture, a shimmer of code, a flickering memory, held tight in gravity's embrace. Even now, physicists don't fully agree. Some think the information is lost forever. Others insist it survives. New theories emerge. Firewalls, soft hair, quantum chaos, each one a new path through the forest of mystery. You do not need to choose. You are not here for certainty. You are here for wonder. You drift through this paradox, like a leaf on still air, floating between the pull of gravity and the tangle of light, and slowly, you begin to see that black holes are not just objects, they are mirrors. They reflect the limits of what we know. At their edges, our laws blur, our theories collide, and from that collision, new understanding grows. You smile softly. Even in the places where science stumbles, there is beauty, because to wonder is to live. To ask is to expand, and to follow mystery is to become part of the universe's unfolding. So what falls in may not be gone. It may be transformed. It may be scattered. It may be remembered in the gentle architecture of light, and perhaps in some deep corner of the cosmos, that information will one day be read again, reassembled from the faintest echoes, like a song returned from silence. You feel yourself quiet now, still and thoughtful. You've followed black holes from birth to death, from gravity to glow, from silence to story, and you wonder, if every whisper leaves a trace, then maybe the universe itself is woven from memory. You float outward now, not away, but wider, as if your vision grows, expanding softly, like a ripple easing through still water. You've seen what black holes can do up close, how they bend time, whisper light, shape the silence of space. But now, from this distance, you see the effect in full. A galaxy spins below you, A spiral of stars, delicate and immense. Arms curling in graceful arcs. Each star like a glowing seed. And at the very heart, you know it now, sits the black hole, quiet and sure. It's easy to think of them as destroyers, as hungry shadows that swallow light. But from here, you see something else. Not hunger, not violence, but balance. The galaxy doesn't fall apart. It doesn't scatter. It doesn't spin too fast or too loose. Because at the center, the black hole holds its shape, not by force, but by gravity, a deep presence that anchors the swirl. You watch stars move. Each one follows its own path, but always in rhythm with the whole. They orbit the center, yes, but they also respond to one another. A quiet choreography, thousands of light years wide. And all of this graceful dance, depends on the weight of the black hole. Not too light, not too heavy, just enough to guide without disrupting. You drift over another galaxy, then another. Some are spirals, some are elliptical, round and soft, like brushstrokes in oil. Some are chaotic, remnants of collisions, bursts of new stars flickering in hot clouds. And in each, a black hole rests at the center, often unseen, often quiet, but always there. You begin to understand. Galaxies are not born in isolation. They form from clouds, from collisions, from gravitational echoes of the Big Bang. But to remain, to last, they need something at the center, to keep time with, like a heart, like a root, like a still point in a turning world. Black holes are gardeners of galaxies. They prune and feed with subtle hands. Their jets push away gas, delaying new stars, until the time is right. And when they feed again, they light up the center, a beacon to the rest of the galaxy. A message. Now is the moment to breathe. Now is the time to pause. You float between galaxies now, across the quiet space between the clusters. Even here, there is balance. These great black holes shape the flow of gas in and out of galaxies. They heat the spaces in between. They shape where stars can grow and where they cannot. This regulation gives galaxies their form, not just in shape, but in time. Too many stars, and a galaxy burns fast, brief and brilliant. Too few, and it dims. But black holes help find the middle, a harmony that lasts. You drift gently through this idea that black holes, though small in size, have influence that spans millions of light years. They do not scream. They do not stir chaos. They hum. They shape the space around them. With a kind of cosmic patience, they hold galaxies steady. They guide how fast stars are born. They regulate the heat and cool of dust clouds. They keep the ecosystem of the galaxy in gentle tension. You think of your own galaxy, the Milky Way. You are part of it. A spiral arm, a quiet sun, a small blue world, and deep at the center, Sagittarius A, your own supermassive black hole. It's quiet now, not feeding, not flaring, but holding, and because of that, your galaxy remains stable. It spins at a rhythm that allows stars like your sun to survive, planets to cool, life to begin. Yes, black holes are not monsters. They are keepers of rhythm, weavers of structure, balancers of cosmic time. And perhaps, without them, no stars would hold, no galaxies would last, no planets would remain in orbit long enough to bloom. You think again of that quiet center, not a place of violence, but of potential. Maybe that is what balance means in the universe. Not perfect symmetry, but tension that holds long enough for beauty to emerge. You float now through the stars, each one unique, each one old, all of them part of something wider, all of them guided by gravity toward the center they can never reach. You imagine that too, living in orbit, circling, always drawn, but never falling. That's what life does, in a way, held in place by things we cannot see, by the pull of mystery, by the rhythm of time, by questions that anchor us. And black holes, in their silence, are part of that rhythm. They keep the galactic garden alive. They let it grow, let it burn, let it breathe. You close your eyes and imagine the universe as a whole, not as chaos, not as cold, but as music. Each black hole a note, each galaxy a harmony, each orbit a measure in the song. And here you are, floating through the melody, safe in the space between beats. You wonder now, if black holes shape galaxies, if they fade with Hawking's light, if they hold information in entangled echoes, what then is their final gift? Welcome back, gentle traveler, to the quiet of your breath, to the stillness behind your eyes. You have floated through the fabric of space, drifted beside black holes, listened to time bend, watched matter shine before it vanished. Now you return, not downward, but inward, toward a place where thought and rest begin to merge. This is the edge of forever, and it feels like home. You are still in space, still among stars, but you are drifting slower now, like a feather settling into air, like a leaf gliding across water. Behind you is a trail of wonder. You've seen the collapse of giants, the stillness of singularities, the spinning fire of accretion disks, the hush of horizons that hold all light. You felt gravity not as a force, but as a shaping presence, a lullaby woven into the body of the universe. And now, at the close of this journey, you rest near that quiet presence, not inside it, but beside it, where the silence is deepest, and the stars are few, and everything you've seen begins to fade gently into peace. The black hole behind you no longer feels mysterious. It feels known, not fully, but enough to let go of fear. You know it glows, it shapes, it releases light in death. You know it balances galaxies, holds orbits steady, breathes in time with stardust and silence. And you also know that even at the end of its life, when it radiates its last flickers, it gives back. It does not vanish without a trace. It transforms. This is what you carry now. Not equations, not theories, but rhythm. The rhythm of a universe in balance, in motion, in quiet unfolding. As you float in this last space, you notice how far the darkness stretches. Not empty, just calm. The stars here are dimmer, but their light is ancient, and it reaches you with soft insistence. You are still wrapped in time, but the ticking is slower, wider, measured in the motion of galaxies, in the cooling of dust, in the breathing of atoms. Your own breath matches it now, your chest rising gently, your mind letting go. You remember the idea that black holes may hold information, that nothing is truly lost, that even silence remembers what passed through it. And so perhaps everything you've seen, the spinning disks, the jets of light, the death of stars, all of it still echoes here, folded into the background of the cosmos, whispering in the static. This place, this edge of forever, feels like a library, but one made not of pages, but of patterns, a record of light, a memory of gravity, a dream of time. You rest within it, held, not by walls or roofs, but by the structure of the universe itself. You drift past starlight still traveling from ancient collisions, past photons born before Earth had oceans. And still, you are connected, because all things in the universe share the same origin, born in the same bang, shaped by the same physics, held by the same invisible hands. You begin to feel this more than understand it, that your body is not separate from space, but made of it. The carbon in your breath, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, all forged in the death of stars, all recycled by black holes, all born again in new stars that will one day give light. You are not visiting the universe. You are part of it. And that is the calm at the heart of this bedtime journey. You think of the galaxies still spinning, of the black holes still feeding, of the quasars blinking in the early sky. They will continue, long after your thoughts fall quiet, long after you fall asleep. And yet, in some deep and tender way, you are already among them. Every night you look at the sky, you look back in time. Every moment you rest, you return to the stars. Sleep is not separation. It is reunion, a folding inward, a returning to origin. And so you allow yourself now to float one last time, not toward a destination, but toward stillness. The edge of forever is not sharp. It is soft. It does not push. It receives. Let yourself be received. Let the thoughts fade into warmth. Let your breathing slow with the stars. Let your body rest in gravity's gentle hold. There is no more to understand tonight. No more to explore. Only to feel that everything, the light, the dark, the motion, the pause, is part of the same lullaby. And you, in your quiet orbit, are part of its melody. Tonight, you sleep beside the cosmos. You rest in the memory of black holes, in the balance of galaxies, in the space between the stars. You are not alone here. The universe hums around you, and the story continues, in dreams made of gravity and echoes made of light.